Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Astrology Hub podcast. Today, I am so excited to be here with Astrologer and with a master's in depth psych. Oh my gosh, do you hear the peacocks? You guys, they're everywhere all the time. Yes, peacock, what is it? Okay. I'm here with Astrologer Divine Harmony. Divine Harmony has her master's in depth psychology, a background in shadow work and mysticism. She is an Astrology Hub favorite. We've been working with Divine Harmony since the very beginning of Astrology Hub, and it's always so fun to reconnect with her here on the show. And today we're going to be talking about the lunation that she is going to be in charge of when she is an inner circle guide, which she's going to be an inner circle guide in August for the Leo lunation. So we're going to be she's going to be giving a little highlights on that. And then we're also going to be talking about her mastery class that she'll be teaching in the inner circle, which is all about embodied astrology. So what is embodied astrology? We're going to dive into that and give you some tangible things you can take away today to start working with this idea of embodied astrology. And before we dive in, though, I want to make sure that you all know you are invited to our upcoming solstice panel event. This is going to be featuring 7 astrologers, including Divine Harmony. We're going to be looking at the rest of 2021. So what do we have in store energetically for the rest of the year and into 2022? The major themes, the major transits, the things that you can be doing now to prepare yourself for next year and to help yourself through the end of the year. So Harmony, we're very excited that you're going to be a part of that.
Me too.
Yeah. And welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I love this new setup.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, me too. It's great. And we can go live on several different platforms at the same time. So now we're live on Facebook and on YouTube.
It's very cool. I love it.
Yes. All right. So let's start with the highlights of the Leo lunation. So the lunar cycle that's going to be starting in August. Can you tell us some of the things that are going to be happening? We're going to be at the end of the summer. Can you give us a preview into what's happening around that time?
Yes, it's a very powerful month, and I'm super excited to be hosting it. It's a new moon in Leo on August 8th. So it's the 8-8 Lion's Gate, which I'll be explaining what that is during the month. What's really fascinating is just like 2 days after the solar gateway, the midpoint between summer solstice and fall equinox, which is a high holy day called Lugnasa. So it's already like a very powerful solar gateway in the solar mystery teachings. And then like 2 days later, we have this new moon on the Lion's Gate, and it's a new moon in the sign of the sun. So we've got like massive sun, solar, Leo, radiant kind of energy coming in. We also have the heliacal rise of Sirius, the fixed star, the spiritual son of our sun. And I'll be talking about that. And it rises different days based on your location on Earth. So I'll be describing how you can figure that out. We have an amazing blue full moon. So the second full moon in Aquarius at the last degree of Aquarius, opposite Regulus, the royal fixed star of leadership. So I'm going to be talking about fixed stars quite a bit in the forecast. And then we have, what else is happening? Pluto squares Eris my month, which if anybody's heard me talk, like in the New Year thing, I talked about that quite a bit. It's a very big transit from 2020 to 2021. It's the 2 furthest planets that we're aware of in our solar system. And that's happening. And then there's like something else happening. I forget. But there's just like so much. It's like a very powerful month. And I'm super excited, to be hosting it and being with you all.
Yes. Now, can we talk about a couple things that you just brought up?
Yeah.
The Lion's Gate. Is this an astrological thing, astronomical thing? Because I've heard some debate. Some people go, oh, that's just woo-woo, new age stuff. Tell it, because I know you're very scientific and you use tons of research on everything, and you really do a great job blending astrology and astronomy. So what is the Lion's Gate, and is it something to really pay attention to?
So it's got its correlation. Like, for example, a big part of it is supposed to be connected to Egypt and the pyramids and the Sphinx. And on 8/8 in 2021, the heliacal rise of Sirius is exact. But it hasn't always been on 8-8. Like if you go back 5,000 years ago, it wasn't, but it moves so slowly that it has been for quite some time. So the way that I see it is it's a modern, spiritual gateway. I mean, here's the thing is there's the ancient ones, and those are so important to understand and tune into, but we also need mysticism and traditions that speak to where we're at now. And we are an evolving species and an evolving planet, and the stars have shifted their position, and there's things that have changed. And so to me, it's a gateway that you can tune into, that's about now in this moment. But as I'll teach in the class, the heliacal rise of Sirius, where I live in Ashland, is actually going to be August 19th. I wrote this down. If you're in Maui, it's July 31st. In Giza in Egypt, it'll be 8-8. And in Bellingham, Washington, which is where I went to college, so very far up in the north of the United States, is August 26th. So it's very specific to where you're at in latitude. But for Egypt, it is 8-8. And then there's like a numerology to it. And to me, an important piece is it's right next to the solar gate, like a couple days after the solar gate of the midpoint, the high point of summer. So there's a lot of pieces to it. And I've seen many articles of people bashing it, saying it's, whatever. And then people who are very spiritual, and they're saying some things that don't make sense sometimes about it. And so there's a lot to navigate in between the two.
Okay. One of the other things I love about you and the way that you practice astrology is that you bring in the fixed stars quite a bit.
I love
so
them.
I have a question though. Why aren't they more prominent in the practice of astrology? Because when you actually look at the sky, sometimes they're the most bright and brilliant. And I always feel kind of sad that I don't know more about them. So why do you think it's not practiced regularly?
Well, I mean, there are people who do practice it. I mean, like Gemini Brett is all about looking at the stars, and he talks about them a lot. So does Gary Caton. And then, there's I'm going to space on her name now, but I have her software. I know her name and I'm having a moment, but there's a elder astrologer in the field who's done a lot of work on the fixed stars, and she has special software called Starlight. And her name will probably come to me when we're done with the podcast. Anyhow, so there are people that do, but I find it's more of like a niche or a specialty that people start getting interested in as they discover that they have, a fixed star in their chart. I'm not really sure why. I mean, we very much, well, actually, this is what's coming in, is that a lot of astrology is based on our solar system. So we're like paying attention to our sun and our planets and what's in here. And in order to bring in the fixed stars, you have to go like beyond, what's just in our own orbit. So it could be about just a need to look beyond, us.
Okay. Is it Demetra George or Bernadette Brady?
Bernadette Brady, thank
There
you.
we go. Okay.
Demetra's amazing, though. She does amazing work with the goddesses. But Bernadette Brady, and she has amazing software called Starlight. I have it.
Got it. Okay. All right. So it's just, and was it traditionally used, like historically? Is it in the?
Yes. So like, in this, I don't know if you remember, but from my Age of Aquarius video, we talked about how the ancient way of heralding ages was looking at the sign, the constellation rather, that was rising before the sun. So it was all about the fixed stars, actually, because we didn't have software. Like if something is conjunct the sun or near the sun, you're not going to see it. The moment the sun starts coming up, everything is, disappears in the light of the sun. So it's more modern to just focus on the sun and our planets. So it is a kind of a nod to the ancient practices. I really believe, though, in weaving the ancient with the modern and being open to new things coming in, so that it's not like this or that. It's like you can only do what's ancient, or it all has to be modern and new. It's like, the ancients knew what they were doing, and we can build on their wisdom. but there's also new things coming in that we have to be open to, and we don't want to just stay closed-minded and stuck in the past, which is really the astrology of the times right now. The Saturn-Uranus square is very much bringing us to that point of awareness.
Right. So you're saying the Saturn-Uranus square is bringing this combination of the old with Saturn and the Uranus new, and being open to both of them.
Yeah. And how to bridge them, how to hold both without denying one or the other.
Right. Okay. So big month, August. What would you anticipate? Is it going to be a climax sort of time of the storylines that we're experiencing right now, or what would you anticipate?
Well, what's really interesting to me is all of 2021 has this underlying Neptune vibe. And it's not necessarily the stuff that people are paying attention to. You see the Saturn-Uranus square and the Saturn-Chiron sextile and Pluto square Eris and some of these other things. But we started the year with Neptune square the nodal axis. And Neptune square the nodes, especially North Node in Gemini, South Node in Sag. It's all about perception and belief, and then the illusion. It's everybody is being run by their filters. We see through our own lens. We have all these belief systems that we've internalized from our family, from our culture, from our spiritual tradition or religion. And a lot of it we're not aware of. And it's informing how we see things. And so we started with that. And then all year long, from February to October, and actually, I think in my lunation, we have the last exact. Juno, the asteroid goddess of partnership and marriage, is on the karmic south node 3 times from February to August. So literally, I think on the day of my new moon is the last conjunction with the mean south node. And then Juno is squaring Neptune 3 times from May to October. So Juno is keeping that Neptune T-square going. And, one of the manifestations of this is relationships, because she's about partnership. But it's also about Juno and Sagittarius on the South Node. Where are we more committed to being right than we are committed to seeing the truth? And the North Node in Gemini is about coming back to beginner's mind, being open, being curious, being teachable. Not just being the teacher, the one with all the wisdom and the knowledge, but really open and receptive and curious about, wow, I wonder how you see that. And I would love to step into your shoes and understand your perspective instead of just bashing each other. There was this article the other day, and now I'm not going to remember the name of the actor. Anyhow, this actor was sharing that he's had AIDS. And the article was so beautiful because you could see his healing journey of coming to peace with this and his own process and his own self-love and self-acceptance. It was so beautiful. And all these people are commenting, who cares about you? You should, they were saying all these nasty things. And I was just my God, this man just put his heart out to everybody. He just went through this really, can you imagine what it would be like to find out you had AIDS? Put yourself in his shoes and have some compassion. And so there's a lot of that flying around. And then now we're in Mercury retrograde. He's going to square Neptune 3 times. Venus is squaring Neptune this Thursday. So to me, the whole year is Neptunian. And it's what's the truth? What's a lie? What's fact? What's fiction? Who is actually seeing reality? Anybody who swears to God that they are, I question them.
It's an incredible synchronicity. And Bronwyn Simons, who is our inner circle guide for this month, we just had our full moon call yesterday. One of our soul work assignments is to pay attention to synchronicities. And so I'm listening to you. Tomorrow, I have Barbara Hand-Clow on the podcast, and she wanted to talk about Neptune.
Oh, beautiful.
She's talking about Neptune because she's saying the same thing as you. This is this backdrop to this whole year that isn't being it's funny that Neptune would be the elusive thing that isn't really getting brought into the conversation as much, but she wants to really spend a lot of time focusing on the energy of Neptune and how that's showing up for all of us right now.
It's so strong. And then who was it? Actually, Cameron Allen was telling me, and I can't remember which he said, but somehow Neptune's nodes are getting activated, or Neptune is on the nodes of some planet, and I'm not remembering the specifics, but that added another like layer to it to me. So that is operating like the whole year. And then in my month, Pluto square Eris, it's the 4th of 5. The last one will be in October. It's the first one this year. And to me, Pluto square Eris, let's just say Eris, is responsible for the disruptive, chaotic experience that we're all having on the planet starting last year, like literally. And I don't mean it in a sense
that more than Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter.
Yep.
Whoa, Harmony, that's a bold statement.
I know.
I like it. You like to make bold statements.
Well, because she comes in, her myth. She showed up at the party uninvited, and she had a golden apple, and she tossed it, and it said, "To the fairest." And then the goddesses proceeded to fight over who was most beautiful. Like, to me, one of the most important parts of her myth is like, because I remember when I first heard the story, I was like, why are goddesses fighting over who's the most beautiful? Like, that was the part that I paid attention to, because that was like weird. I'm like, they're divine. When you're fully divine, aren't you just radiating self-love and self-worth, and you're not like trying to compete with the other? Like, it just was so weird to me. And that's what Eris does, is she reveals what no one's looking at. She throws a curveball that like totally opens up Pandora's box and shows you everything that's not being looked at. And there's many things that this year could apply to that, but one of the things for me that's really powerful is just revealing our relationship with our bodies and our health. Because a big part of COVID is people who are immunocompromised or have health issues, they can really get hit hard. So many of us have health issues and immunocompromisation. Like, it's not like a small percentage of people that got health issues. And so we're out of balance. Our immune systems need strengthening. Like, we need to connect to nature and remember our capacity for vitality and radiant health, and then do the things, that need to be done to have that.
So what was it with what was happening with Eris? Was it as unique and rare as what was happening with all the other planets? Or are you just saying that that's the predominant energy of disruption?
Well, so she's the furthest body that we know of, right? And Michael Luton always says, like, the slowest planet wins.
Right.
And the slowest planet's Eris. I mean, she takes like 560, I forget the exact number, years to go through all the signs, whereas Pluto is like 240 something. And so she's the new archetype. She was discovered in 2005. It's the archetype of the 21st century. Historically, when you look at when Uranus was discovered in Neptune and Pluto in each of the previous centuries, it was pivotal to something being birthed in the consciousness on the planet, something erupting. And so Eris has that role now. She's like the guiding archetype of the 21st century. And so her involvement was like the new player on the stage that's the furthest out, that's the slowest moving. And to me, Eris has her fingerprint on everything right now. And even remember when they had a picture of the virus? It was like a red spiky ball. I was like, literally all I could see was Eris. It looked like the goddess Eris to me. It was a red spiky ball. It looked like her to me. The moment I saw it, I was like, oh my God, it's like Eris in virus form. I don't know. She's new, so we still have to see how she unfolds. But yeah, she's a dominant force. So having the 4th square during my month is going to be interesting. The last one is in October. That one is so huge because it happens while Pluto stations direct. So then we're going to have the second slowest planet at a standstill and the first slowest planet squaring, and that one's going to be powerful.
One to look out for. Well, hopefully when we're on that panel, you can spend a little more time on that, because we'll be talking about the whole rest of the end of the year. So I realized that I didn't tell you where to go to register for that free panel event. So
Oh.
if you want to join the free panel event, go to astrologyhub.com/solstice panel. astrologyhub.com/solstice panel. Again, it's going to be Harmony, 6 other astrologers. We're going to be having a great time. I love the panel events. It's always so dynamic to hear the different astrologers speaking, and then they lots of times build on what each other are saying. And so it's always very dynamic and fun. So that's on June 3rd. If you can't join us live, please register anyways, so we know to send you the limited time replay. Okay. All right. So Harmony, let's talk about this idea of embodied astrology. What is embodied astrology to you? How did that concept or idea come to you? Tell us the story.
Yeah. So in 2012, a lot of things happened in 2012 for all of us. I started having this come in, and actually in 2014, I taught a weekend workshop in Colorado in the beginning part of this whatever teaching that's coming through. And it came in for a few reasons, actually. So first of all, I can be very heady. You know, my Mercury is conjunct Jupiter, trine Uranus. I mean, like the mind is very like, whoo. And part of my journey has been embodiment, like coming fully down and in. And I remember in my studies with astrology that it was really, especially early on, it was really enhancing and almost exacerbating my tendency to be in my head, because I'd be like looking at the future and looking at the past and not necessarily being in my body in the present moment, or looking at the chart and, you know, and being like, look at this and look at that. And why is this happening? But like the chart, you know, is a map, but it's not the being, you know, it's not the land itself. And navigating the land itself is going to be totally different than looking at a map. And so I was just aware that astrology can be very heady. And then I had my shadow class, my astrology in your shadow class, which I just did the 3rd one. And sure enough, like I'd have all these worksheets and people would be like doing the worksheets and looking at their chart, but then there'd be equally as many embodiment practices. And regularly people would say in the class, you know, I keep doing all the exercises and the worksheets, but I'm resisting the embodiment practices. And I'm like, yes, I know, because that's actually where the wisdom's going to anchor. It starts like in the head as like insight and like realizations, but then it's got to drop down. We have to feel it with our heart. We have to connect it into our bodies. And it's literally the journey of bringing spirit fully in. And what I think we need, you know, to head in the right direction as a humanity, is we need fully incarnated people. I mean, we need people who are bringing the light fully in. And the thing with it, though, you know, is to bring the light fully in means it's going to illuminate the shadows. So the shadow work is important. But this work, embodied astrology, is like a weaving of astrology and shadow work, but also with like mysticism and like, what is that woman's name? You Can Heal Your Life, Louise L. Hay, like, you know, understanding the body spiritually, like, and bringing the planetary and the stellar and the solar and the lunar consciousness down and in. I pulled cards today because I knew you were going to ask me, what is this and why is it? And I was just like, oh, what does the tarot want to say about this? And it was so insightful. I was like, wow, I have to share this. So I got the Ace of Cups, the Devil, and the Emperor. And the Ace of Cups is the Grail. And it's love and emotion and the divine feminine. And the Devil, of course, is the devil. It's all about the shadow and where we're blocked. And the Emperor is, you know, to me, this is all about bringing the feminine back into astrology. I mean, you know, I'm totally into the goddess, like obsessed with the goddess. There she is, right next to me. And so I started in the divine feminine with astrology by like weaving in the asteroid goddesses, you know, and bringing more balance, because there's only the moon and Venus and the basic 10 planets before Eris was discovered. And so that brought in more feminine to balance the masculine archetypes. But also we have to understand of the 4 elements, fire and earth, air and water. Fire and air are the masculine. Fire is the spirit, creativity, passion. Air is the mind, the intellect. Earth and water are the feminine elements. and water is emotion and feeling and the soul, and earth is the body and the physical. And this is really like about bringing back the feminine into astrology that tends to be very heady and kind of up and out. And based on this tarot spread, I had this whole download that came in. I was like, oh my God, it's like the Grail. Do you know the Grail myth? And how
Not really.
so it was like this wasteland and the wounded Fisher King, and it was like, it was desolate and horrible. And then the Grail Maiden comes, and she has the source of life and light. It's the feminine essentially is lost from the land. The divine feminine is not being honored. And that's, to me, I was just like, oh my gosh, it's like the Grail. Like, this is how I'm serving the Grail. It's to bring back the feminine. It needs to come back into balance everywhere. But this is like my, focus on astrology, which is something I absolutely love. And just my awareness from the beginning when I started studying astrology that there's something missing here. It's like out of balance in the masculine mental, ascend, future kind of direction.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay. So can you give us some I love everything you're saying. Totally agree with you. I've witnessed the same thing where it's like, whoa, we're so in our heads. Like, what is actually happening in life? Like, what are we, and also what are we doing with this information? Like, how are we using it to live better lives or to show up more ourselves and accept that invitation to become more of who we are and all those things. So give us an example. So let's take either a planet or a transit and sort of contrast it for us. Like, if we're just going to stay in the head, it looks like this, but if we're going to bring it into the body, this is what it looks like.
So I want to do the Saturn-Uranus square. And in the class, there's going to be some like setting the stage of some things, and I'm not going to be able to do this here. So just anyhow, but I want to do this one. So in the system or in the whatever, the download, I don't like systems. Saturn is the root chakra. Naturally, Saturn is the root, and, Saturn is grounding and belonging and stability and security. And, there's always the balance of something, but there can also be the excess, and there can be the deficient Saturn, and we're not rooted, we're not grounded, we have a lot of fear around safety and security. Or if we overdo the Saturn at the root, we have, control and rigidity, and we resist change. So we have Saturn square Uranus, and in the body, Uranus, there's like the chakras, the 7 chakras, but there's also the 3 centers in the body. So and the people in the shadow class know a bit about this because there was a meditation on, I call them the 3 grails in the body. So you have the grail of the womb or the hara down in the pelvic area, the grail of the heart, and you have the grail of the mind. And literally, like, your head, if you were to look at your cranium, looks like a chalice, and your pelvis does too, and then the heart does as well, like literally. So you have these 3 chalices, and Uranus is in the chalice of the mind. It's the higher mind. It's the chalice of wisdom. And so Uranus energy in the mind is like inspiration and insight. It's like, when things happen and all of a sudden, like, your mind gets blown open and you're like, oh my God, I see it. Like, I understand, or whatever. That's very Uranian, too much Uranus. And we can be neurotic, we can be like, here's this and here's that, and like chasing after things and very ungrounded. Too little Uranus, and we are shut down. We don't want to hear or see anything new, anything that will destabilize our old ideas and ways of doing and being. So we have Saturn and we have Uranus, and then we have them in 2 signs. We have Saturn in Aquarius, and in the body, Aquarius, there's many things it relates to, but the ankles, which have to do with flexibility and support. Can we be flexible enough to change the direction we're walking in? Also has to do with the bioelectrical system in the body. So the nervous system, Uranus transits, for me anyhow, I always feel like I'm plugged into an electrical outlet. And it's like, I have to quit caffeine because it's like too much. So in Aquarius, it's about the bioelectric system, which we have to be aware of what happens to our bioelectrical system when we're surrounded by Wi-Fi and 5G and smart meters and, cell phones. We have a system that we're not aware of. It's not necessarily something we're super conscious of unless you tune into it. And it can get affected by these things. So Saturn's in Aquarius, Uranus is in Taurus, which is the throat and has to do with the voice and the vocal cords. And Uranus here can be about speaking and expressing your truth, but it can also be about like speaking too much and just, exploding out and saying things that don't need to be said. And we have these two square each other, and so then in the teaching, there'll be like embodiment practices and guided meditations. But we'll just do this here. Close your eyes just for a few seconds and just visualize Saturn, the Lord of karma, the father of time, the root and foundation at your root. Feel yourself rooted to the earth, fully here, fully anchored, fully present, and belonging. Feel what it feels like to drop down and in and be connected to Mother Earth. This is the embodied experience of Saturn in the healthy expression. We can explore the excess and deficient, but we won't right now. And then tune into Uranus in the chalice of your mind and the expanse of Uranus, the vision, the openness to the new, literally like a light bulb goes on in your mind and you see the truth. And then feel the tension between these two, but also the way in which they could work together. Because if we're getting in insights and intuition through Uranus, being open to the cosmic, being open to, what lies above, but we're staying rooted and grounded and in our bodies, we can bring those new ideas, those new technologies, those new visions down and through, and we can bring them into manifestation. We can also ground the energy that Uranus brings, which can be very activating. I mean, Uranus is very much connected to Kundalini awakening, but Kundalini awakening, Kundalini energy, which is like life force energy, spiritual, divine energy, if it's not grounded and anchored, it can wreak actually quite a bit of havoc. So embodied astrology is about literally going inside your body, feeling the planets, feeling the signs, feeling where you might be deficient or in excess, and then finding the points of balance, the practices. I mean, I'll be giving, practices like maybe breath work or a mantra, or toning is really great for Uranus and Taurus. Also Uranus and Taurus, I wrote a whole blog on this, and I called it a revolution of embodiment. Because Taurus is one of the earth signs, and it's Venus. And it's also very connected to Earth, the planet. And Uranus is a revolution. It's like, with all the artificial intelligence and the sucked into the computers and stuff, so many of us are not in our bodies. And I see that astrology can also contribute to that, keeping us out instead of helping us come in. So that's just a little taste of it, but there's going to be a whole setup that I describe, the chakras and how the planets are in the body and the signs. And then there'll be practices. And there's a way to feel into this in mundane, I just gave a mundane transit, but you and I both have Saturn in Leo. So, Saturn in Leo is the solar plexus, but also the heart. And, Saturn in a healthy way in the solar plexus is a healthy sense of self with boundaries. Excess Saturn in the solar plexus can be narcissism. Deficient can be wide open to empathic. heart, Saturn in the heart, can be like really masterful with love, but boundaried, deficient. It could be like the heart is closed, or too much, sorry, the heart is closed, deficient, the heart's wide open and you're getting hit in the heart, which is, the continuum of narcissism and empathy. It's like narcissism is too much ego, and empathy, healthy empathy is beautiful, but too much empathy is like no sense of self or boundary. So you're feeling everything and everyone. So it's just a way of dropping the planets into your body. And instead of looking at a chart and reading things, you're going inside and feeling them. And it brings back, the earth and the water, the feminine elements into the way we look at and understand and experience astrology.
Brilliant. I mean, and it seems like you're helping us map the planets and the transits to actually map them on our body, in our body.
Yes.
So you know where to access the energy of each of the planetary archetypes.
Yes. And you literally, I mean, like, you can experience, because like everybody's Saturn is somewhere. I mean, somebody's Saturn is in Eris, and that can be the head and then the blood, or like there's different things. And so you can actually feel Saturn in all of the chakras and in all parts of the body. And like to be able to do that and to tune into that and see where, I can really feel that one, but that one, it's like numb or it's cut off. Like that can bring awareness to like something in that part of the body or that chakra in relationship to that energy. And to me, the planets, they're living beings. The ancients actually saw them as deities. Like they are conscious beings. And, a lot of astrology, maybe not a lot of, some of astrology can be very much like looking up at them as though they do things to us. And we're just like learning how to interpret so we can like not have a crappy life or
yeah.
And the way that I see it is I feel like they influence us and we influence them. I think it's an interchange, and, really to bring that level of divine awareness into the body. I mean, my real name is Harmony, by the way, for everybody, but my astrology name is Divine Harmony, and we're all divine. It's like to really remember that we're divine, but also to be human at the same time, and how to navigate that. There's a quote that's like one of my favorite quotes by Swami Nisargadatta. I always mess up his name. And he says, "Wisdom tells me I'm nothing. Love tells me I'm everything. And in between the two, my life flows." So it's like we're human, and yes, we're nothing compared to everything, and we have egos, but we're also divine, and we are everything. And it's like often we tend to get stuck on one or the other, and like, I don't know. It's like, how do we bring them together? I have a tattoo on my back of a yin and yang, and it's like the shadow and the light merging. It's like I got it when I was 18, before I really even knew what it meant esoterically. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Harmony, I want to ask everybody, because I had an experience while we were doing that embodiment exercise. I could feel that current of energy between the Uranus and the Saturn, and how dynamic and alive it was. And that the Uranus energy was literally electrifying the earth, the groundedness, and giving it movement where it normally might feel just sort of static, like stuck. Yeah. So I want to ask anybody that did that exercise and closed your eyes and imagine, did you feel that? I mean, could you feel your own version of what was happening? And if so, can you please tell us about it? Because that was powerful. I actually had to open my eyes at one point, because I was like, I need to be present for this podcast, and I'm sort of like having an experience here. So I would love to hear from all of you, but that's very potent. And I can see how us sort of taking it apart so we can put it back together. So taking it apart, like really looking at the energies of each thing, really looking at where they might show up in the body, and then putting it together to have an experience of it in the body. I can see how powerful that's going to be for all of us.
Yeah. And then like, I'll just give an example of, this eclipse, that's happening tomorrow morning, it's exactly square my Moon Mars opposition. So like Grand Cross with my Moon Mars. And it's been an intense day. And I was like preparing for this. And then I was like, I need to just drop in. And so I just like dropped in, and I felt what I was feeling with the eclipse, with the energies. I was feeling the moon in my body. I was feeling Mars in my body. I was like really just tending to my inner experience, because I was aware that I also had work to do today, but I was like using getting ready for this and my other work to just kind of like bypass what I was feeling, and we do that. I mean, it makes sense too. We have to work. We have to raise our children. We can't just sit there quietly and meditate all day. Maybe in a past life, but not this one. And so, we have to find ways to bring this in and also still live our lives and be in the world. But I was aware of that today. I was like, wow, I'm busy working and like avoiding really feeling what this eclipse is doing to my Moon Mars. So I like stopped and dropped in. And one thing I want to say about the Saturn-Uranus square. So Saturn is the last of the visible planets, and Uranus is the first of the invisible, so the first of the transpersonal. And the bridge between them is Chiron. And he's the rainbow bridge. Barbara Hand Clow has a book on that. And he is actually linking with both Saturn and Uranus this year. That's really important too. And, Chiron is connected to the heart. There's other planets as well, but Chiron, literally, he's like part human, part divine. He's part animal, part man. And he shows that bridge between spirit and, earth, or, above and below, or whatever. So it's just I just love seeing like the archetypal energies like come through in real life. And this also, I will say, this also has been born out of, it's funny, I've started studying esoteric astrology again. I studied it in my 20s and I loved it, but I just noticed that it was so transcendent that I would just like kind of go up and out. And I was like, this isn't really helpful for me. I'm very Neptunian and Pisces. And I was going to go to grad school, and I was going to go to transpersonal psychology. And I also was like, no, that's not the right one. And then I found depth psychology, and it was like, let's take her down into the underworld. And that's what I needed to balance my Neptunian energy. But I'm returning back to esoteric now because I have a deeper grounding in my being that I didn't have in my 20s. And I'm seeing the esoteric astrology, and I'm just like, okay, how do we bring this in and make it more practically applicable, because it's very like, ooh, cosmic and ethereal, but it's like, but what does that mean? Right. What does that mean in daily life? How do you bring that through?
Yeah.
That's like my question for all of life, to be honest. It's just
it's like, perfect.
Embody.
Yes. Embody. and put the wisdom and knowledge to use. I mean, that's like my Capricorn speaking, right? But like, let's use it, because it's there for us as a tool. It's there for us to provide insights. It's there for us to harness, really. And so, yes, I love what you're doing. I'm super excited about your lunar cycle in the inner circle, your mastery class teaching. For those of you who are interested, make sure you join the panel event, because in the panel event, you're going to meet our next 7 inner circle guides. If you are an inner circle member already, you do not need to register for the panel event. If you are not a member, please do register. It's free. It's going to give you a taste of, these are the kinds of things that we're exploring in the inner circle. The inner circle is very much about embodied astrology. We have every astrologer give us a soul work assignment, for example. Mm-hmm. And soul work assignments are based on the energy of that lunar cycle. How do we actually take this energy and apply it in our lives? How do we do practices and exercises and things that will actually make it come to life in our reality? So they do that. They teach a mastery class. They teach a new and a full moon forecast. And the new and the full moon forecast is different from the weather and the different things that we do on the podcast, because it's a little more instructional. So you're going to see it's a little more technical. You're going to see charts. You're going to have a lot more technical language. So the inner circle really is for the students. It's for the ones who are like, I want to learn astrology and I want to learn a variety of techniques from a variety of astrologers. And that's interesting and compelling to the people in the inner circle. The things that they rank the highest when we ask them what they value the most about their membership, number one is getting exposed to a variety of astrologers and having new techniques in their toolbox. And number two and number three are the forecasts and the mastery class. So that's like the meat of the program, but there's so much more. I mean, the community is so vibrant. It's so alive. You get the astrologers as your mentors every month, and they engage in the group and they're answering questions. And it's just a really dynamic, alive experience of astrology and of astrology community. So that is we only open twice a year, and June 3rd, our solstice panel is our kickoff event for our open enrollment period that will last for 2 weeks. So just giving you insights into what's coming. That's astrologyhub.com/solstice panel. Register if you're not an inner circle member. If you're an inner circle member, you're in. It's all good. And Harmony, anything else you want to add about, you've been a guide before. What do you love about being an astrologer with the inner circle?
Well, I've always said that I wish something like this was happening when I was studying astrology. Like I just would have been, I remember the first time I went to an astrology conference, I was like, my people, and it was like, I just felt charged. And what's amazing about Astrology Hub is it's every month and you're learning the astrology from different lenses, and you have community and people chatting about it and sharing. And I love it. Like, I think it is a fantastic gift that you offer out to the world. And you do rituals too, right?
Yeah, and that's optional. Yeah, it's a bonus. It's a bonus. But there's a group of inner circle members that it's very consistent. They show up every new moon. We do a new moon ceremony, and it's very much, again, about like co-creating with the universe and really taking our position as being capable beings of doing that. Yeah. So those are always very powerful, and you get to sort of track your progress over time. Not everybody's into the ritual piece, but the ones that are love it, and we have a great time together.
I think they're amazing. And you get exposed to different, things too. It's just like one person's doing astrocartography and another is doing human design. And, so it's like, you really get this deep experience of different things. So you can find, because there's so much astrology out there, my God, you can, it takes lifetimes to study it all. And so then you can find the things that really resonate with you. You're like, wow, I'm really into this. Like, this is interesting. Or that teacher really speaks to my soul. And you really create this space for people to get exposed to all types of astrology and people. And I feel like you're doing such an important job at bringing astrology into more consciousness on the planet. Like, I really do. So
thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're creating a space for people, to learn this, and it's online. So it doesn't matter if you live in a town where nobody knows what astrology is. You can find your astrology friends online.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I mean, that's definitely part of why we do what we do, just to bring it into awareness and allow people the choice of what really resonates with them. So yes. All right. So this has been so great, Harmony. We have our insights into August. Sounds like a rip-roaring month, and you're going to be our guide for that. Yay. And then the embodied astrology piece. So that'll be Harmony's mastery class for that month. And also you can start playing with it right now. I mean, there's nothing to stop you from starting to play with what it looks like. I love the example you gave from today of like, oh, wow, I'm not in my body. I'm sort of avoiding what I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. My astrology is activated right now. So how do I feel that astrology in my body and listen to what it has to share with me?
Yep. Listen to and honor your body. Honoring your body is honoring the mother and the feminine. So
beautiful. Harmony, thank you. As always, it is such a pleasure to be here with you. Can't wait for the panel on the 3rd. Thanks to all of you for being here, for all of your awesome comments, and for all of your enthusiasm. Thanks for being a part of our community. And thank you, as always, for making astrology a part of your life. We'll catch you on the next episode tomorrow with Barbara Hand Clow, which I'm like, what? I've been waiting to interview her for over a year. I heard her on Coast to Coast. Actually, my love heard her on Coast to Coast and was like, you need to talk to this woman. And so we've been just like over a year trying to find the right time. And it's tomorrow on the eclipse is the date where it all came together. So join us for that.
I'll be tuning in.
What's that?
I'll be tuning in.
Yes. It's 11 o'clock. 2 o'clock Pacific.
Okay.
So 5 o'clock Eastern. Of course, it'll be recorded. We'll have it on the podcast and everything, so you can catch it wherever you listen to Astrology Hub. But she's definitely a legend in the field, and one of the few astrologers who's really very, very galactic. I mean, wow. Yes. So we're going to go there, and it's going to be fun. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks, Harmony. Take care.